Are you ready, Heather?
Yes, I'm ready.
Perfect. All right, go ahead and get it started then, Alex. Welcome everybody to Burning Coal Theater Company. We just finished a production, a preview show actually, of 100 Words for Snow, our upcoming play that opens this Thursday. So we have two people here representing Club 39, which is our brand new membership for people that are 39 years or younger. So they're here to come preview the show and also to meet Heather Chandler, our special guest this evening.
Hello. How's everyone?
Great. So I'd like to start with talking to these folks out here and asking them, what did you guys think about the show that you just saw? Any first impressions or takeaways that you got from the production?
I thought it was pretty amazing because I've never really been to a play that has an audio aspect to it. So this was really cool because I could, imagine what was going on as the narrator was talking. And it really felt like you were being ported to that land. Like I felt like I was in the Arctic, even though it wasn't as cold inside. So it was pretty amazing. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. And what about you, Maddie?
Well, I had already read the play, but just being in the audience and watching it be done was completely different. There were aspects in which just listening to what was being said and how the story was developing, that made me get deeper into it and just follow along to see what the character was going to do. So the audio was really a big help for it. Without anyone having to sing, you had just heard Rory, your main character, tell the story without the sounds. It would have been completely different. So the sound was absolutely good, and the visuals of those weren't too many right in front of us, just to have in our heads, and pay attention to what she was saying, going along with her character devotion. It really developed very well.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so both picking up a little bit on the original audio score that we have during the show. So for part of the show, you are blindfolded, which is very unique and different. So the sound design is a really big part of the show. So it's really cool that you both enjoyed that, and it brought the Arctic alive for you guys. Great. Wonderful. Heather, would you mind introducing yourself really briefly and what you do?
Absolutely. My name is Heather Chandler, and I make video games. I have been working in that industry for about 25 years. I've worked on large and small games. I've actually worked on a game that we're going to talk about, I think, a little bit later on, based in Alaska. And, I'm a producer, so my job is to work with the team and pull that group together and get something made and released out to the players.
And so, Heather, you worked a little bit on this video game called Never Alone, along with a bunch of other games, including Fortnite and all that. But Never Alone, I believe, also takes place sort of in this Arctic environment, and is about a girl and her wolf. Is that correct?
Yeah, a fox, an Arctic fox. And it's funny is because there's a story about that, which if you want, I can go into now. Yeah, that project. So the project was called Never Alone, and it's a video game that came out about 4 or 5 years ago. And we worked directly with the Inupiat tribe up in Alaska to develop the game. They wanted to create a game that shared and celebrated their culture, but that it was a game that would have commercial appeal. And so we decided to create, I was a producer on that, and we worked with a tribe of elders with the Inupiat tribe, and we also helped them find a game developer because they needed, they didn't have a professional game developer group, so we found a game developer to help them make this game, and we agreed to make a platform game, which is a platform game is where you go in and you jump and you have obstacles and puzzles that you solve with a young girl. And this would have been, time frame wise, we based it sort of in the 1800s because we, didn't want to have technology or anything like that. So really a throwback to, before the incursion of Western people into the land and all of that. So the main character is a young girl, and she has this sidekick that's an Arctic fox that helps her kind of navigate the environment. And the story about the fox versus the wolf is that one of the things they wanted us to do is help them make a game that would have commercial appeal. And so when we came up with the concept of having her have this sidekick, they really wanted it to be a wolf, because in their culture, Arctic foxes are things that they caution the kids to stay away from because they're basically the equivalent of raccoons and they carry disease and all of this stuff. And so they said, can we make this a wolf? From a gameplay perspective, we really liked the idea of the Arctic fox because it was a smaller and much more playful character. And so we actually had multiple conversations about this, about which character we would do, because we were making a decision which we thought would enhance gameplay, but would not necessarily be as culturally appropriate based on their culture. But after we kind of talked it through with the tribe and did a couple different tests, they agreed that the Arctic fox would be a fine choice for the story that we wanted to tell.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And so we have these two different mediums that are both using the Arctic as the environment as well, which is really interesting. Theater versus video games. It's not really a connection that you see very often, but I think it's really cool that you decided to come on here. And the character in the play, her father is sort of in the sciences, and I was wondering a little bit about what your parents were like. Did you grow up with people in academia and the sciences? Is that what introduced you to the STEM field?
Yeah, it's funny because this is the second time this week people have kind of asked me about my family and background and sort of, how I became, interested in STEM and stuff like that. My parents, both of them had graduated from college. No, actually, that's not true. Now that I think about it. But neither one were scientists or really into STEM or anything, but they were both very curious people. My dad especially was somebody who was always, very interested in building things. He'd studied architecture. He created these beautiful wooden boxes and furniture. He was like one of the smartest people I knew because he was always reading books about all kinds of things. And he was a very precise person. And I remember him sitting down with me and teaching me my algebra because I couldn't, pick up some of the concepts. So really what I learned from that background is ask questions, be curious. And I was always very interested in science, specifically biology, when I was younger, biology and chemistry, because I just really loved, the understanding how things were made and how things were created. So I really was very interested in that. And then in high school, I became super interested in physics. Again, that whole organic, like these things are made up of minuscule things that we can't see. And so that's where I really, started leaning into my love of science and STEM. But then when I went to college, I ended up getting a degree in art history of all things. And then, ended up in the video game industry because I think I had a natural inclination to combine sort of the artistic piece with the more technical piece, because that's when you combine those two things together, it always yields something very exciting.
Yeah, that's great. I'd like to turn it over to our audience now. Do either of you have a question that you'd like to ask Heather?
I was just curious a little bit. So, Heather, you mentioned that after college, you just stumbled or you just went into the video games. Was there anything specific? Like, I know you touched over it a little bit, which is you wanted to combine the artistic side of you with, the technical interest that you had. But why specifically video games for you?
It was something that when I was coming up, I don't want to say how old I am, but, a long time ago, it wasn't really, video games were not a career that people considered because, it was envisioned as being something that you had to be super technical or a programmer to actually do it, because back then they didn't have huge teams making these multi-million-dollar games. It really was kind of a programmer and doing stuff. So it never occurred to me that that's something that I could do. I played games, but when I graduated from college, I ended up just by chance getting a job at a video game company, Activision. And I was like, oh, I guess I'll try it out and see, because I was very curious what that was like. But I didn't think anything was going to come of it. It was an entry-level position where you go in and be a production coordinator, basically, and, errand person for the development teams. And when I got there, I realized that the people that made games were not at all what I imagined them to be. Certainly, they were very smart and very passionate about what they did, but it was a combination of artists, engineers, designers, testers, corporate people. And I was like, this is a really interesting mix of people to be with, because it's got the technical people that, figure out how to make these games do the things they do, but they need the artists and designers to create an experience that people can be transported by. And so from that first job, when I realized that this was actually a thing, then I was like, wow, yeah, this is what I want to do. And so my boss asked me, where do you see yourself? And after I kind of looked at all the different jobs you could do, knowing that I hadn't trained to be a computer programmer, which honestly, if you want to make video games, you have to start programming. And I didn't. I thought that a producer would be a good choice for me, because you have to bring people together, which is ultimately what I like. And you have to know a little bit about each of the disciplines, enough of it so that you can talk to the people in the team and help bring these different groups together, because there's a lot of conflicts, lively conflicts between art and engineering, especially because the artists want to do one thing and the engineers want to do another thing. And that, to me, just really hit all of the places that I was really interested in. And so I just kind of stuck with it.
That's wonderful. Yes, that makes a lot of sense. Now again, questions?
Yes, I want to ask you, so looking back in time for you, if you had chosen to start playing video games, what do you think you would have done as career-wise? Being a girl, during the time that you were growing up, and your background with your family or your interests and what was available at the time.
I was always interested in being a university teacher. So I think that I probably would have ended up in academia, teaching probably art history or film studies or something like that. I really love to teach and help people learn. So I think I would have ended up something like that. Now, I also, was super interested in the film industry. I've gone to film school, and that could have been another path that I took. But because I got to games first, and that was really where I felt that I fit, even though I was in Los Angeles, I kind of stopped pursuing the film bit of it. But that could have been another place I could see myself.
Great. And then I had another question for you. What is one challenge that you faced in your career journey?
I think people are more cognizant now of, encouraging women to work in the game industry, and there's a lot more doors that are open now. I can say that in my experience, I never had like super negative experiences that people talk about, but certainly it can be very interesting to bring a different perspective to a team, to go in there and to earn their respect by showing that you know what you're doing and how you do it. And so I can't think of a specific challenge per se, but I can say that there've been times when I've walked into a team and, I'm there to help them make the game and get it released. And, people don't necessarily agree with what I want to do, or they don't think that I understand. And so I think that the challenge for me has always been that I have to work harder at, understanding what it is they need and to earn their respect,
Yeah, sure. Definitely. Great. Any other questions for you guys? Yeah. All right. Awesome. Well, I think that's great. Thank you so much, Heather, for your time. And we hope to see everyone else at Burning Coal Theater Company for 100 Words for Snow. You can learn more about 100 Words for Snow and Club 39, our new membership for people that are 39 years and under at our website, burningcoal.org. Thank you so much. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.